Hello and welcome back to the Performance Marketing Unlocked podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Arthur, PMW's Multimedia Editor. On today's episode of the show, I'm joined by our news reporter, Reem Makari, and PMW's editor, Robin Langford, to talk about the biggest story of the past fortnight, that being Amazon Ads' partnership with Netflix. This was a huge shake-up to the programmatic advertising landscape, and we got lots of industry reaction, and the editorial team give their thoughts on the news, and we talk about where it might be headed in the future. So for anyone interested on the future of CTV and whether or not it's going to converge with retail media and influencer marketing and who knows what else, sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of the Performance Marketing Unlocked podcast. Reem and Robin, hello and welcome back to the Performance Marketing Unlocked studio. How are we both?
Good. It's good to be back.
Thank you. Yeah, good, Jay. Thanks.
Yeah, Robin, you've had a spell for a few weeks now, free from the studio. You've been busy doing other things. How you feel being back on the mic?
Oh, great. I'm sure everyone's really looking forward to hearing my voice again.
No, I think everyone's missed you, of course. The editor and the head honcho. We barely get by without you sometimes, but no, I think Reem and I have been doing our best. It's good to have the editorial team back in studio for this one, though. We're going to talk about a story that really, well, it did very well for us, which was great. But in terms of just general industry response, this was something that has really been percolating for the last fortnight, and that is being Amazon Ads' partnership with Netflix. So advertisers using Amazon DSP will have access to Netflix's premium ad inventory as of Q4 2025. So that's coming up. And basically, it means if you're a brand who advertises with Amazon Ads, the pool of audiences you have access to is going to include Netflix's global audience across markets like the US, UK, large parts of Europe, North America, and South America as well, and then Australia too. So lots to unpack, but immediate reactions. What do we make of this?
Well, number one, it's quite surprising. People from just looking at it from a distance will be like, there's Amazon Prime TV and Netflix. They are competing content providers, two of the biggest content providers in the world. And Amazon are using their DSP to power ads on Netflix's ad service, which has been going since 2022. So some people might question, hold on a second, aren't these people rivals? But actually, there's a deeper story here, which is the real value here nowadays isn't in content or production, it's in the data and proving what those outcomes are. And actually, the combination of Amazon's purchase data, the biggest pool of purchase data in the world, with Netflix viewers, which is possibly one of the biggest pools of online viewers in the world outside of YouTube and some of the big broadcasters, put those together, that's an incredibly powerful amount of data that advertisers have at their hands. What people watch, the Netflix shows they watch, which serial killer shows they're watching versus what thing they go and buy on Amazon, and be able to link those two things up. My goodness, how powerful that is. And there's a good reason why those two major companies are getting together, even though they're potentially rival content providers.
Yeah, I think a lot of people I spoke to describe this as a win-win for advertisers. I think first and foremost, it's a win-win for Netflix and Amazon, even though on the surface you talk about Prime and Netflix, they're competing streamers, I suppose. But as you've mentioned there, the convergence of data that's happening now. And I think the fact that for brands, it's going to be such a great opportunity, it's a win-win for Netflix and Amazon. It's a no-brainer, really, once they've managed to get this deal and they've put it out. And going through it, the more I look into it, the more sense it makes for pretty much everyone involved.
I mean, it's an incredible partnership, and it also it's insane, but at the same time makes so much sense. And I think it's, like you said, it's all about the data, and it's a very good example of learning what are your actual priorities, what's actually going to help your platform, and is that going to be being a rival, or having that data that can then help you set up for the future in a more sustainable way. And I think that's exactly what Amazon and Netflix have done by having this partnership. And hopefully Netflix is not going to be the last of it. Maybe, they go into one with Disney Plus in the future, or other streaming platforms that they can get the data from.
Yeah, I think Amazon really it's the sort of the golden nugget there in the shopper data it has access to. It just gives it such a unique proposition, and it's almost asking these other streamers, just put the fact that we have Prime aside and look at all of this shopper data. Wouldn't it be great to give your brands access to your audience and combine that with our data, and just imagine the targeting and the upgrades you could do in terms of your programmatic advertising. The opportunities seem endless. And to dive into some of those opportunities, we spoke to a lot of industry experts, and you can get that reaction on the website. But I wanted to come to both of you and ask, what were some of the reactions or insights that stood out to you most from the people we spoke to in the wake of this news? Reem, I'll start with you this time.
One reaction that stood out, which is from David Sargent, Director of Advertising Operations at SBS, and he said that the real story here is strategic and not operational. And I think that's exactly what this partnership is. It's a strategic move to integrate the data of both Netflix viewers, audiences, as well as Amazon's shopper data. And like I said, like setting up for the future. So he said that unlocks something that the industry has been chasing for years. True outcome-based planning. Advertisers will be able to see how a Netflix campaign links to what people buy on Amazon, then retarget those audiences across channels with precision. So imagine, like, with Netflix, you get people across all different generations. You have like Netflix for kids, and you have children watching their cartoons or family shows or whatever. You also have adults watching their reality shows, true crime documentaries, movies, and each one is very specific. What their interests are very specific, and then being able to link that back to what they could purchase on Amazon it's a very smart and, like Sargent said, a very strategic move.
I think it shows the power of first-party data too, and how when really it's done right, it's pretty much impossible to compete with all of that anonymized shopper data and viewing data, bringing those things together. It should be like shooting fish in a barrel when it comes to your targeted advertising for brands. But David's point's really interesting there, and it sort of signals that they've gone beyond these two streamers. When you look at the Prime perspective, they've gone beyond who owns what premium inventory, and they're sort of shifting that focus to the outcomes, as you said there, Reem, and who can prove what premium inventory drives. And these two have realised that maybe combining some aspects of their business and working together is the best way to achieve this.
Sure. You mentioned earlier, Joe, that it's a win-win-win for advertisers. So who's losing from all this?
It's got to be someone.
The two biggest sort of rival DSPs, the two big ones, possibly the losers, which is Google's DV360, which wasn't included, and also, more importantly, perhaps the Trade Desk, which is the big open web DSP. There's lots of other ones around there, but the Trade Desk is the one that gets the most sort of eyeballs. And they have a relationship with Netflix, as with other CTV companies. But this move from Amazon DSP really parks the tanks on their lawn in that sort of mixture between open web versus walled garden stuff. It's both these two walled gardens with Netflix and Amazon, giving advertisers a bit of a peek under the hood. That the Trade Desk used to be able to capitalize on that, saying we're open, you can come to us. But this is kind of definitely shifting that balance of power away from them. And Craig Hughes, EVP Business at Business Development and Strategy at Teeds, in our articles said the pressure this puts on the Trade Desk and DV360 isn't just about margin and fees, it's also about solving the conversion data and exclusive supply questions where Amazon and Google have clear strengths. So again, it's a similar thing about, this isn't just about margin and fees, it's about that data that you were talking about earlier. I mean, it's really important. So yeah, I think Trade Desk are trying to play this down. They did talk to us in your report.
Adding to that, clearly on the co-founder of Acorn Eye, specifically speaking on the Trade Desk, she posed the question, what does it mean for the Trade Desk and others? And went on to say, with Netflix now available within Amazon's ad ecosystem, they're going to have to really think about how they differentiate their offering to advertisers. Talking about the Trade Desk specifically there, as opposed to Google DV360. But yeah, it certainly really bodes a big challenge for them to overcome. They've got that was their point of difference, the Trade Desk, and now it's being encroached upon a little bit by this partnership. They're going to have to come up with almost another reason, another USP to sell themselves to advertisers, because what they were offering, people can now get through Amazon ads.
And significantly, I don't know if you picked up on this, but at Cannes this year, Amazon and Roku also forged another deal, which is another place where the Trade Desk were operating on Roku, which is one of the biggest open streaming dongles you get, which people use opposed to Apple TV and all that. And again, that happened just in June this year, so we can really see a pattern now with Amazon keeping to move into places where the Trade Desk operates.
Their share price responded to this news as well. The Trade Desk, there was quite a significant dip in the wake of this news. Now, a spokesperson for the Trade Desk did speak to us, and this was the comment they had to say. We have always believed in an open, competitive marketplace. We are often an early partner for good reason, and we hope we are a catalyst for a sustainable open ecosystem with competition. We believe that the more open and competitive the market is, the greater our opportunity to win. As you said there, Robin, they're really doubling down on they want a sustainable open web, and they want to happily encourage competition. As you said, they have a relationship with Netflix as well. This certainly takes a little bit of, on the Google front, it helps brands move beyond walled gardens, in a sense, into the open web. But it's almost a signal that even there in this sort of open ecosystem, there might be a power, a bit of an oligopoly or a monopolizing of power, or at least what's the word I'm looking for? Consolidate power. Consolidation. Thank you, Robin. I was stumbling on that. Yeah, it might be the power just all comes under Amazon at the end of the day.
Yeah, there is a monopoly question once again, which is another area where...
I hate to say the M word, but it's worth raising, I think.
It is. I mean, again, sometimes it's just that the people with the biggest power, they consolidate it, like you say, and that just becomes too big a proposition. And even us as consumers, I know we're going to talk about this in a second, we tend to gravitate towards the areas where we get the best purchase power, and that comes from scale. And unfortunately, that's areas where Amazon and Google are going to thrive, and it does bode ill for the Trade Desk, and it's great what they're doing in terms of trying to create that sort of an open web alternative. But it does
not just the Trade Desk either, just all DSPs really. If you're Adform as well, a smaller, more independent demand side platform. I don't know that this move. I think it makes it certainly harder for competition in the open web space, which is challenging, and a consolidation of power, as I was trying to spit out there.
Especially considering, like you said, with their stock going down, they've already been struggling. So I can't imagine this makes it any easier.
A pretty massive player in this space. Let's be honest. It's not like they're the little independent that they've got deals with many of these big streamers. So if it's them that are feeling the pinch, and we're just, we're saying all the comment they gave us, they seem reasonably self-assured, and we're saying this based off of our own, we're inferring this based off what we know and things like the share price. But I worry a little bit more for other DSPs. I think getting in on the game now is going to be a lot harder when it comes to premium inventory and programmatic advertising. We will move on because, Reem, I know you wanted to talk about the impact of this move a little bit more on consumers and what's this going to look like when it comes to the Netflix experience, for example.
I think there's potential there for more personalized personalization for consumers for the ad-supported tiers. One, there's a lot more people moving on to ad-supported tiers. We were talking this morning about, Joe, you watch Netflix with ads.
I'm on Netflix's ad tier, actually.
Yes. I've recently moved to Spotify's ad tier. I don't know about you, Robin.
No, I'm premium all the way.
Premium all the way. But
Must be nice when you're the editor.
But it's very common now to get a mix of people having some platforms where they're on ad-supported tier and having some where they're on premium. And then there are some Amazon, for example, whether you're premium or not, you still get ads anyway while you're watching something, which could be very annoying sometimes. But it happens. And I think the opportunity here is that there's going to be more personalization for those consumers, because using that shopper data, and mixing it with the Netflix audience data, then they're able to get things that are targeted for what they actually want, products that they'd actually be willing to buy, and go back to Amazon and actually make a purchase. So I think it will be actually like a good thing for consumers.
Yeah, one thing is about CTV and streaming platforms, particularly like Netflix and Amazon Prime, when you see ads, they're often shared experiences. People go, and so it will be interesting to see how you personalize ads to shared experiences. I mean, what if you're buying a present for the other person in a room and you get an advert that gives away that you're going to buy them something? I mean, I don't know how well. It might mean that the personalization experience might be somewhat limited for the advertiser because of certain privacy concerns over that, whereas a Spotify premium might be more of a personal, Spotify ads might be more personal, you just on your headphones more. I was just saying that one reason I wouldn't want Spotify ads is if you use Spotify for like parties or something like that, and then you get an advert halfway through. So it can be a disruptive experience. It might not be as welcome in those environments, but obviously CTV ads are definitely on the rise.
That is interesting because I suppose a lot of the data, it'll be personalized to, I imagine, the owner of the account. They're sort of looked at as the individual, but it's what a household might watch. And I know Barb does its UK data based on households as opposed to the individual. And I imagine Amazon and Netflix have their own ways of sort of making these identifications. A good example on Netflix actually is you can have different accounts within the one Netflix account. So I've got at home my Netflix, our ad tier Netflix account, which is for our household, but it's me, my partner, and my housemate have our separate little sort of tabs, I suppose, within Netflix. And I guess the ads will be personalized depending on what we watch there. So that's one way to overcome that speed bump, I suppose, Robin.
Absolutely. And you can get, obviously, you get emails and reminders from Netflix and stuff. And actually, someone on the PMW team who will not be named outside of this group was raving about the Netflix ad that was sent to their email about their star signs and what star signs would align. I think you can both guess which one that was. What star sign aligns to his or her viewing habits on Netflix and what documentaries you should watch based on what your star sign is.
That.
And that really worked for them, that person, him or her. So yeah, you can see good examples. It doesn't have to be on the CTV experience. Obviously, there's all sorts of ways that an advertiser can reach that person knowing those two bits of data points. And obviously, these are clean rooms. Amazon has a clean room, so it's obviously anonymized data that kind of goes through that system.
Hello, Performance Marketing Unlocked listeners. Host Joe here, interrupting you very briefly to put a call out for mailbag questions. Very soon, we will be recording the first Performance Marketing Unlocked editorial team mailbag, where we take questions from you, the loyal listeners. So please, if you have anything that you would like to have us discuss on the show, whether that be a topic or a specific question, please email it to performancemarketingworld@haymarket.com. Now, back to the show. Speaking on the CTV and the consumer experience of it all, Sarah Lawson-Johnston, the managing director, EMEA at Voodoo, spoke to the fact that this might be accelerating the convergence of CTV and retail media, for example, speaking specifically on it being, not only a sizable step towards interoperability from two major content rivals, but opening up the gates of the walled gardens, but combining commerce data from Amazon with Netflix's content library, bringing that proposition forward to the market, I think it's going to help retail media and CTV come together, this idea of commerce and content being combined. So it's one where I imagine, could we see checkout processes interwoven within ads on Netflix and all doing that within the one platform, in the same way as we've seen that happen across social media, for example, with things like TikTok Shop? Absolutely.
As we get more digital, our shopping goes online, our viewing habits all online and measurable. The power of performance marketing is only going to get stronger, and being able to close that loop you mentioned there, Joe, of shopper data and viewer data and stuff is only going to get stronger. And yeah, quite frankly, scary. I think you'll be able to start unlocking so many new insights based just on these multiple new touch points that advertisers will be able to access. Absolutely.
It's trying to bring all those channels together. I mean, QR codes sort of brought the it digitized that advertising experience from bringing it from this, the TV, for example, or a billboard onto a mobile, and you can go there into the checkout experience. But now it just might be, you get your Amazon ads off of Netflix, and right there you can close the loop and have the entire shopping experience. So, I mean, for the sake of convenience, it's great for consumers. And it's all anonymized data. So on the privacy front, pretty safe as well. It comes back to what we said up top. Win-win-win for everyone except the DSPs that need to find another unique selling point and hope Amazon doesn't come in and take it away.
I feel like at one point we're going to have because we have the retail media playbook coming out and we talk about AI shopping assistants. At one point it's going to be that the ad's going to pop out and it's going to tell you can make a purchase through Amazon, and then an AI shopping assistant will then make that purchase for you. It's just you'll basically sit down and just not have to do anything, which is a weird, crazy future we might enter, but could be very realistic and could happen very soon.
Yeah, and actually, funny enough, Reem, I was going to mention this, is that in next year, Netflix have already announced they intend to include AI-generated ads within their ad-supported tier. So you might start seeing stuff that's personalized and AI-generated within the content you're seeing. And it could even become like product placements within films. I know famously, like James Bond will be like, look at my watch kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you might start, I mean, it's quite scary to think it's very Minority Report, which is all talk about personalized adverts always go back to that film Minority Report, where you just start seeing completely generated ads for you. But I think we're not too far off that. And I think this is probably another step towards it.
I'm going to feel so called out when I'm watching an AI-generated ad personalized to me and being like, ew, who would buy that? And then realizing that that's targeted based on what I view.
We'll soon be taking personal affronts dependent on the ads that we're met with. Listen, before we finish up and I let you both go, I wanted to raise one thing to you that I've just been thinking on. And does this not slightly break down the walls between... is there scope for influencer marketing to get on this somehow? We spoke about retail media having a convergence with CTV here. Why could a brand not broaden their influencer content or a partnership they're doing across social media with an influencer and bring it onto connected TV and through this channel? I'm just... Is this not where we're headed? Are we going to bring influencer marketers and branded partnerships onto Netflix within the ad breaks? Is this what we're going to see?
When you take YouTube, for example, I know it's not the same as like shows, but like when you take YouTube and YouTubers and YouTube vlogs and that sort of stuff, and sometimes the content that they have is like 30 minutes to an hour long. So it's almost like watching an episode of something. And they are the influencers themselves, and they're working with brands. And you'll get those interruptions halfway, sometimes multiple times throughout the video, where they would stop and promote something, promote like a brand that they're working with or a product that they love or whatever. And that works, and people enjoy that and they engage with that. Same with podcasts when they interrupt with an ad halfway, and people are fine with it because that's normal from podcasts, normal from YouTube videos and those kind of like social multimedia channels. So I can imagine it working for CTV.
But not specifically influencer content housed on Netflix. I'm talking about when you are watching Netflix on the ad tier and you have a 30-second ad come up. This completely breaks down the barriers between creators and premium premium media, as far as I'm concerned. Like, I'm already seeing on YouTube, for example, when I'm watching a long 30-minute Outdoor Boys video, shout out to anyone listening who knows them, that gets interrupted by an ad, a branded ad that's got an influencer I know heading that up. I'm seeing that happen all the time on YouTube, and I guess the question I'm posing is, are we just going to start seeing this across places like Netflix and other streamers?
If you can target it better to the audience that might be more receptive to it, absolutely, it might not hit the same way for the kind of Netflix audience. And I do think people will watch a YouTube influencer or half-hour Twitch stream or whatever for a different reason. They'd be watching a Netflix show. It's a lean back, lean forward type different experience.
Yeah.
Amazon DSP does cater for Twitch streams as well. So it does depend on the frame of mind. But I think there's definitely an ability now to personalize content exactly to the viewer. So it could be for a Gen Z, they might see an influencer content piece of advertising.
But my point was as well that with YouTube videos and having those interruptions from influencers to sponsor something, to promote an ad or product, I can imagine some sort of future integrated with AI as well, where you're watching a show on Netflix and then you get like, maybe they get the actors from the show or something to then do an ad for a product halfway, so that when it cuts in, they're the influencers, or I don't know, they get it to work with them so it becomes that personalized experience. Like I can imagine, if you're watching Succession, I don't know, that's not on Netflix, but like Succession with what's his name, Brian?
HBO's Succession.
Brian Cox.
Yeah, Brian Cox. Like he does a bunch of ads. He appears in a lot of ads, and he's really funny in ads. But I mean, it would be so funny to see him break halfway through a show and do something like that. So I don't know if maybe that's where
we're getting into very futuristic high tech here. It's reminiscent of one person might watch an episode of Friends per se. Or Seinfeld and Jerry's eating one brand of cereal, and then someone else might watch the same episode, but the brand of cereal is different based on that. Yeah,
that could
we're
happen.
Getting very futuristic about where this is.
I mean, just to go off on a total tangent, if you want to Google this or go on YouTube, there's an old Mexican version of Star Wars where they integrated beer adverts onto it with a bit, and the point where Obi-Wan Kenobi goes around the Death Star, suddenly this beer appears with the beer slogan and this jingle that happens in the middle of the Star Wars episode. So it completely takes you out, but I can't imagine that working very well in a modern audience.
Yeah, or like even with like programmatic advertising as well, if they get the same celebrity that's in that show, like with Friends, if you get Jennifer Aniston but she's doing an ad for something else and it's like 20 years later and they get her to be the ad break, I think that would be quite a funny way to do it, but also
funny or just jarring. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess just to round out, I think the point I was making more in the short term is you see it on YouTube already when you might be watching you get your YouTube ads and it's a branded partnership with an influencer, or certainly I've been getting that recently in the YouTube I've watching. But it's not something I've seen so much on specifically connected TV orientated streaming. Like I don't have YouTube Premium. I'm just watching the sort of free content.
No one has
there.
YouTube Premium. That's a joke.
one of my friends does.
But I think shopper data from Amazon now incorporated on Netflix, looking at this partnership specifically, I think it completely breaks down the barriers for successful brand and creator activations across social media to be brought across onto CTV. And I don't see a reason why, when it can be this personalized around a product based on a consumer's shopping data and viewing habits, I think it's something that we might see in the future.
Do you want to see someone you admire, like a sports star or something, or creator, appear halfway through a Netflix show and sell you something, Joe?
It'd be amazing to watch a documentary about someone and, who's in the influencing space, and then an ad break comes in midway through and they start selling you one of their products. Whether or not I'd buy it, I'd certainly feel like I'm very much getting a personalised experience at that point. We'll leave that there. Thanks both for joining me to chat about this. Certainly our headline story of last week and leading into this one. A lot of talking heads have been touching on it, and it will be interesting in Q4 once this comes to life and we sort of see exactly how it evolves, and maybe it's something we'll revisit in the future. But for now, thanks very much for joining me, to the both of you.
Thank you, Drew.
And that concludes this episode of the Performance Marketing Unlocked podcast. A big thank you to my guests this week, PMW's news reporter Reem Makari and our editor Robin Langford, for joining me to talk about some of the headline news from across the website and the industry recently, that being Amazon Ads partnership with Netflix, really shaking up the streaming landscape and leaving a lot of DSPs quite nervous, I imagine, about the future. Thank you, of course, to you, the loyal listener, for tuning in each and every fortnight as you do. We will be back in 7 days' time with another episode of the Performance Marketing Unlocked podcast. Don't forget, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the show on your podcast platform of choice and give us some love across on social media. We're on YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, posting clips, highlights, our favorite Resell Me a Pen challenges, and more. with all that said, have an amazing week, and you'll be hearing from me again very shortly. Bye for now.